Pardon me, everybody. This is the DA Wrestling Podcast episode, Dynamite edition, number 3 by myself. Again, I don't know what the hell's going on here, but apparently it's just me doing this nowadays with our friend Doug. Only going up for coming us for SmackDown and Raw and other WWE stuff. We have a lot of stuff to get to today, though. Let's get to it, though. MJF turns on Garcia. Kind of saw this one coming eventually somewhere down the line here. Britt Baker comes back, makes her intentions known to Mercedes Moné. And, well, just was the entire episode for the most part with some things into left. But let's get started, though, today with the Owen Hart tournament, actually. Show opens up with Bryan Danielson versus Pac. In a lovely match that's going on, that went back and forth. The match, if you've ever seen these two guys wrestle, I got a chance to see Pac live, and I've seen Bryan Danielson, I think, once or twice in my entire time. You're missing out. Pac live, to be honest with you, is extremely good. I remember when he was Neville in the WWE, when he did the whole King of the Cruiserweights. That was fantastic, and you can tell it's more what Pac is now. Great match, really back and forth there. The ending of the match, like Pac really showed a lot in this match, and probably should have won, in my opinion. Bryan Danielson, on the other hand, was showing a lot of the effects of the match that happened with Shingo Takagi just over on Sunday night at Forbidden Door. So much to the point he was taped up. So Pac really worked on the neck for the most part. Ended up getting him to a few submissions using his neck. But the end sequence was really good because they ended up Pac getting pinned with a crucifix by Daniel Bryan and Bryan Danielson. And Bryan Danielson actually advances to the finals now of the Owen Hart tournament. And we find out who he may face later on because it comes down to two guys he may face. And one of those guys is back now tonight on AEW Dynamite Beach Break. All in all, though, it was a really good match. I highly recommend you go watch it. It took up a good segment of time on the show, and rightfully so. It had a good chance to go watch this. Take a look at it, especially if you enjoy Pac or Bryan Danielson. It's one of those ones out there. Bryan Danielson's basically retirement tour is still going quite well, and you're seeing matches that like you haven't seen either in a while or matches you haven't never seen, and that's one of the great things about this tour for Bryan Danielson. It's really interesting. After we're going to move into a commercial break, come back, and Mark Briscoe's in the ring. Now, Mark Briscoe talks about how he obviously did win the TNT title at Forbidden Door. That obviously went to Jack Perry, which kind of saw that one coming. If you didn't see the predictions episode that we did or parts of the stuff that we did, because kind of did a quick one. I picked Jack Perry to win, which was kind of obvious, I think, in my eyes. Jack Perry was obviously the uncrowned TNT champion since he came back, especially considering the fact he is aligned with the Elite now. That's still kind of weird to me, to be honest with you. Him, considering he was like Jungle Boy before, and he went with, he was with, let's go, the whole dinosaur gimmick stuff with Luchasaurus. It makes it weird to me that he's actually just still doing, he's now with the Elite. I didn't think that was really going to happen. I think I was surprised they didn't try to push him more, just as a scapegoat character, not being with the line with the Elite. But I guess that's kind of how they want to do it. I'm not really a biggest fan of this, but I mean, it works for the most part. It's not like I'm over the moon by it, but hey, you know what? It works for what it is. Anyway, Briscoe's out there. He's talking his promo, saying he's ready for a fight, and he mentions Blood and Guts. Now, Blood and Guts is a Team AEW versus Team Elite. Team Elite obviously has 3 members right now. Four members right now with Okada, the Young Bucks, and Jack Perry, and looking for a 5th one. We'll get to that a little bit later on, who they possibly might have the 5th one, but the way it sounded is not going to happen. But Mark Briscoe is going to be on Team AEW for Blood and Guts in a few weeks' time. Who else joins him? I have a good idea. Kind of shows tonight who might be in the team, because as Briscoe's pointing out there, he gets attacked by Jack Perry, and Jack Perry beats him down a little bit, comes at him. Eventually, Kyle O'Reilly comes out, starts attacking. Jack Perry, obviously. Okada comes around him and just rainmakers him. So, and the Elite come down. They beat up Core Combat, which leads to Acclaim coming down, which chases off the Elite. So my guess right now is it's going to be probably Mark Briscoe, Kyle O'Reilly, and the Acclaimed, and whoever the 5th one might be. I have no idea who the 5th one might be right now. They haven't made any mention of possibly who that might be, but they kind of gave indications as to who might be on that team, AEW for Blood and Guts. And Blood and Guts is always a fun show anyway, so it should be a lot of fun for a lot of people. I know the first one I remember watching where MJF was the Pinnacle versus Jericho's team. It was a lot of fun. It was a good show. Very, very War Games-esque. So it's good. It's a lot of fun. Go enjoy it. Geez. After that, they have an interview with the champion Toni Storm. She is happy with Mariah May, and they mentioned that Mariah May will be facing Hikaru Shida in the women's quarterfinals to determine to see who will go on to the semifinal match or semifinal match. Sorry. So basically, I'm feeling it's probably going to be Mariah May that wins that match against Hikaru Shida, and probably goes on to the final. But that'll be interesting to see what happens there. But we got ourselves another match for that Owen Hart tournament. Like I said, very heavy on the Owen Hart tournament today. Stanlander versus Willow Nightingale. Willow Nightingale won. I'm a little surprised. I don't understand the point of making Chris Statlander go heel if you're not going to have her beat the hell out of Willow Nightingale and constantly beat her. It just makes no sense to me. It's absolutely nonsense in my book, but that's the direction I want to go. That's the direction I want to go. My guess is, I mean, if they do it right, you can have Chris Statlander cost Willow Nightingale. I mean, we'll see what happens there. Because Willow Nightingale will be facing, if I'm correct, the winner of Hikaru Shida and Mariah May. So my guess is he's going to win right now. I'm thinking of the women's side. And we'll see what happens because Willow is in the finals of the Owen Hart tournament. So my guess is going to be Mariah May. And I'm wondering if Statlander is going to cost Willow or might be some funkiness going on between Mariah May and Toni Storm because Mariah May, if she wins, will get that number one contender shot at Toni Storm at All In Wembley. I think that's probably where it's going to be if it happens, folks. After that, we get a lovely return for one of my favorites on AEW, Britt Baker. She came back at Forbidden Door, interrupted Mercedes Moné's celebration of her with the 2 titles. I mean, that was kind of nonsense to me that she won. But, I mean, Stephanie Bakir isn't that big of a name, I guess, in AEW, more of a New Japan Strong as well as CMLL. So, yeah, I guess that's kind of why I worked out that way. Britt comes out and she talks very emotional about the past 10 months. She talks about the past, present, and future was something that we all have to deal with in our lives. So we all have our past, we all have our present, and we all are looking for a future as to what might happen. And it was a really emotional time for Britt Baker. She talked about the last 10 months, talks about how in November she was at home thinking she was good, and one side of her right side of her body basically went numb. She couldn't open a bottle of water. It's got to be hard probably for Adam Cole at this point too with that. I mean, considering with all the stuff that he's been going through, and to see Britt go through something, I mean, not broken, but in a way like this, she summed it up as what they would call a mini stroke. There is a more of a technical term for it, but he summed it up as like a mini stroke, which is scary for someone, especially as young as Britt Baker, to have a mini stroke. That explains why she hasn't been around for a while. That she's done interviews before and says she's good and all this stuff, and it turns out she really wasn't really good. She talked about how she looked in the mirror a lot and found that she always said she was good, but in reality she wasn't. So Britt is in her past. She had the mini stroke. She took a lot of time to herself to figure out a lot of things. She came back looking great, to be honest. It looks like she's probably lost. She was never big to begin with, but she looks like she's probably lost. It looks like 10 pounds. Like, and let's put on straight muscle. She looks really good. But she talks about that was her past, and then she talks about her present, where she's clear and she's healthy. And the one thing that bothered her the most in her present right now is that she was nervous coming in front of a Forbidden Door to see it because she didn't think anybody would remember her. she's been gone for so long, and you've seen so many people come into AEW since the time of Britt Baker really building AEW. She was there from the get-go. She was in at the first All In. She helped build Dynamite. At one point, Britt Baker was probably one of the best wrestlers on the planet. Not too long ago, about maybe probably four years ago, maybe back in 2020, 2021, when she had those brutal matches with Thunder Rosa. When she was injured and still was on TV, made a name for herself or with her mic skills. But you've seen a lot of people from WWE come on over from AEW. We got people like Saraya, like Toni Storm, and Mercedes Moné now, which led her to the future. And she talked about Mercedes Moné, how she basically has CEO piped in through the speakers for everybody to say it. How she never really earned her spot or never really helped build AEW, even though she's claiming she has. Now, I don't recall Mercedes Moné ever saying that. I know she said she wants to help build it bigger. I don't know if she says never actually mentioned build it from the ground up. So, but it's nevertheless. But she talks about how she wants Mercedes Moné, which prompts Vigna to come out where Mercedes Moné pulls into the arena, United Center in Chicago, because that's where we are this year, today for this. And she brings in and talks about, and the Young Bucks see her, and they say, hey, your celebration's all ready to go. And while Britt's still in the ring, they start setting up the celebration. Britt doesn't leave. She's just going to sit there. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to wait for this to come out. I'm going to deal with this crap right now. Should be a lot of fun. Mercedes comes out, kind of rips on Britt a little bit. Britt kind of rips on her back. And then Britt challenges Mercedes Moné at All In, saying, I was at the first All In. I was at the first All In Wembley. I want to be at this All In now, and I want you. Now, she never specified what title, but my guess is it's probably the TBS title. Britt doesn't need the women's title right now. Let Toni Storm have it. TBS champion for Britt Baker sounds right to me. Gives her another belt that she can have. So Britt Baker doing that versus Mercedes Moné at All In at Wembley sounds like a really good match to me. Sounds like an idea of the match that maybe that's the idea they should go. I think that's maybe the match they definitely should do. Nobody else, just her versus Mercedes. That's it. No triple threat, no fatal four-way, nothing. Just those two. I think it's probably one of the best matches on the card. If I'm wrong, feel free to comment down below. Speaking down below, guys, make sure you like, share, subscribe down below here. Right? It's one click for you. If you like all the content, it means a lot for us here at DA Wrestling. So please, feel free to comment down below. Feel free to subscribe as well, please. If you can, it'd be greatly appreciated. It's a lot. It means a lot to us and a lot for you guys too. Helps us do more content, stuff like this. Moving on to the rest of AEW. We in the back after this. We're talking about Will Ospreay having a quick interview with Renee Paquette, good old Canadian girl. But as we get off to a start right away, Don Callis happens to show up, and Ospreay more or less says, hey, man, it was my fault, not yours. You didn't do anything wrong. I screwed up. I want out of the Don Callis family. He respects him. Don does a good old-fashioned, absolutely, no problem. I love you. I'll ask you for a favor later on. Gives the hug and has that look of sheer anger. Something tells me Don Callis is going to play a role somewhere down the line between Will Ospreay and possibly All In, or somewhere down the line. Be interesting to see what happens. Or maybe I'm wrong. Or maybe when we get to the last match, we'll talk about it. We'll see what happens there. After that, we get, well, the old-fashioned fun time with Chris Jericho. Look, I'm not the biggest fan of Chris Jericho at this point right now. I love Chris Jericho's fun, like all his work he's done. I enjoy Chris Jericho's, all of his work. This now, I don't find it appealing. I don't find it exciting. I don't find it, it's just finding ways to be on TV for no apparent reason. Chris, do yourself a favor. Just sit down for a while, man. Take a break. You know, like, don't do Fozzy. Don't do it. Go spend time. I'm sure he spends, I see lots of time with his family now, but maybe he'll spend a little extra time with their family now. Just take some time away. But anyway, Learning Tree Chris Jericho comes down. He starts talking to Taz, saying, "I'm going to do commentary now, but you're not allowed to be there," because he's commentating on the match between the Brian Cage and the Gates and Agony versus Samoa Joe, Shibata, and Hook. And since Hook is Taz's son, he says he's not allowed to be at ringside for the match. So Chris Jericho is going to do it. He got an executive order from the Young Bucks. Well, it seems like all these people are siding with the Young Bucks. It's kind of interesting to see who the Young Bucks do pick for their little blood and guts match they're going to have against Team AEW, because it seems to be a lot of people are taking the side of the Young Bucks, or at least making cahoots with them. One or the other is happening, folks. So anyway, Chris Jericho comes down, Brian Cage, the Gates Alley comes down, and God, these guys need music. I tell you, they need a new music and they need a proper push. The Gates and Agony are a great team. They really are. They remind me a little bit of God, but not God. If I'm getting my picture on this one. And Brian Cage, to me, has to be pushed a little bit more than what he is. He's a phenomenal wrestler. TV does not do that man justice. Excuse me, everybody. But Hook comes out. Joe comes out. We all love Joe here on DA Wrestling. And Shibata. I know Doug loves Shibata as well. And Shibata's great. He's great live. I'm still not sold on Hook, but he is, you can definitely tell he's a star in the making for sure. Great match between these guys. Well, everybody Team Joe submits the Gates of Agony and Brian Cage. They all do a submission. Hook does Red Rum. Joe does the Coquina Clutch. And I believe Shibata does his own version of the Coquina Clutch as well. So they all beat it up. After the match is over, Jericho comes in after doing commentary. And his commentary is like, it's not as good as it was during the pandemic when he used to do commentary on a regular basis. They're just because of the pandemic. But he was just there having a good time, I guess. They all beat up. The Learning Tree beat up all three of those guys after that. Oh my, beat the hell out of them. The Redwood puts Hook through a table after him. So that's probably why Taz was supposed to be there. But it was good. It was a good match. It was good for what it was. It's kind of filler. You probably didn't need to have it, but you want to have Chris Jericho on TV, I guess. La-di-da. La-di-da. Have Chris Jericho on TV. Let's do it some more. After the match is over, we get to the last Owen Hart match. It is Jeff Jarrett, who is was the sentiment favorite. I say was because the man he faced was the wild card that the Young Bucks chose. And that wild card was returning Hangman Adam Page. Came out to new music, a new attitude. He's not looking like Magnum TA anymore, which is great. More of a shaved version of Magnum TA, actually, but I'm down. But he has a scowl on his face, just an anger. He's not his usual Adam Page. So it's almost he's just more of a heel Adam Page, which is good. So this is more of a darker side of Adam Page, more of I guess, an outlaw, if you want to call it that. The sentiment, like I said, was Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett put up a valiant effort. I honestly thought this went on a little bit longer than it probably should have. Jarrett and Hangman. Jarrett let Hangman get a lot in. Hangman beat the living hell out of him. But Jarrett got a little bit into the point where you thought Jarrett was going to win. He put Jarrett put actually Hangman in the sharpshooter, an OWEN to Owen Hart, if you want to call it that. It was really nice to see. You always had that thought that maybe Jarrett might actually beat Hangman, but in reality, it was never going to happen. Hangman ends up hitting Deadeye. Well, at first he ends up hitting his clothesline from hell. I have to call it there. It's not the clothesline from hell, folks. I know it's the clothesline from hell. Comment down below what it is. I can't remember the hell it is right now off the top of my head. Oh, sorry, buckshot lariat. There you go. Remember, don't have to comment now, but still comment down below anyway. And then hits him with Deadeye. Didn't need to, did it anyway. Most intriguing part of this match, though, was, like I said, we were in Chicago, and everybody at one point started cheering Swerve's house. Whose house? Swerve's house. Whose house? Swerve's house. Well, the look on Adam Page's face said enough. Adam Page is going to be facing Bryan Danielson at the finals of the Owen Hart tournament in Calgary. That will happen. And Page is going to win, which will set up Swerve versus Hangman at All In. And that might actually be where they take the title off Swerve. I don't know yet. I'll have to see a little bit more what happens. But Page needs to get through Jay White first. Page gets through Jay White. Page will face Bryan Danielson, and Page will probably beat Danielson. Danielson doesn't need the title at this point. He's already made clear that he doesn't need to win title. And this match makes the most sense to do. Hangman versus Swerve at All In. Since now we got Osprey out of the way, because that's not going to happen now. I'm glad for it. Go for it. If they even do half the match, if they even is half as good as the matches they've had in the past, then yeah, this is the match you're going to want to have. After that, we get to the main event time. Before that, though, the Young Bucks are in the back, and they're talking out of Page, saying, "Hey, it's great to have you back here. It's amazing to have you back here. You scratch our back, we scratch yours. We want you on Team Elite. We want you to bring you back for Team Elite for Blood and Guts." Page did not like that one bit. Page simply does this. Grabs Nicholas. No, one of the Bucks. Can't remember which one it is anymore. Sometimes they confuse me. Grabs one of the Bucks, Matthew Buck, and literally looks at him and says, "I'm not elite. I'm not your toy. I'm not anything. I'm going to go win the Owen Hart tournament, and I'm going to take the title." He runs off. He leaves. Both Young Bucks are not happy about it, but they're not going to do anything about it either, though. Adam Page is going to go for that title. Like I said, he's going to win that title. Probably against Swerve. Or we're going to see more of a breakdown of Adam Page after Swerve beats him again. We'll see what happens. Anyway, main event time. Daniel Garcia versus Will Ospreay. What can I say? It's Will Ospreay. You can tell he was banged up from his match versus Swerve on the weekend on Sunday. Came in, looks like he's wearing the same gear for the most part. Huge ovation for this guy. This guy is literally, I don't want to call him a needle mover, but he is literally one of those guys who everybody gets behind and just is in awe of. Some of the stuff that him and Daniel Garcia pulled off in this match, I can only suggest you is go watch it, because it's hard to explain some of the stuff that they did in this match. Very fast paced, very back and forth. At one point, MJF tried to get Daniel Garcia to use his diamond ring in order to win the match and take the international title. Daniel Garcia said, "No, I'm not doing that. I'm doing it on my own. I'm doing all these things on my own." Well, you dumb idiot. You shouldn't have done that. Or should you? Anyway, he says no to them. No to it. Osprey comes back, hits him with the hidden blade. 1, 2, 3, match is over, done with. Well, after the match is over, MJF comes in the ring and kicks Daniel Garcia right in the junk. Just drops him right in the cojones. He starts to beat on him, eventually apologizes from the second rope. Osprey and the officials have to come down here just to get him away and run him off. And that's how Dynamite goes off the air. The way this is looking right now, everybody, is possibly Osprey versus Garcia versus MJF at All In for the national title. Unless there's something else they're going to do with Osprey, it could very well set up the MJF versus Garcia match at All In. Or it's going to be those three guys. Now, we don't know how we saw earlier tonight, we talked about how Don Callis might have something up his sleeve. Who would Don Callis have faced, though, Osprey at Wembley? Is the question I have. Who would he have? He'd have to have somebody who could possibly take that title out of Osprey. Who, I don't know. Maybe Jeff Cobb, if he's going to try to get Cobb. I mean, it's not like he hasn't recruited from New Japan before. If not, we'll probably look at those three. But looks like right now they are going to probably push towards MJF versus Garcia at All In. Osprey might be inserted for the international title, considering the fact that Osprey chased him away, and we already have that previous heat with Osprey and MJF. So it's a good possibility that does happen at All In. I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, that was AEW Beach Break Dynamite. Really, all really good show. Heavy on the wrestling as per usual. Very heavy on the Owen Hart tournament stuff. It's coming to an end very soon, actually, too. They'll be in Calgary very, very soon for the finals here of the Owen Hart Cup, and we're gonna find out who will be basically winning those trophies, those titles, and going off to face the world champion at all in Wembley. So my picks right now are probably Adam Page, and I'm gonna say Mariah May. It just seems like those are the two matches that they're gonna go for at All In. Both have stories to them. Both probably have like the Mariah May versus Toni Storm. Mariah May's been a Toni Storm now for a while. The whole thing with Mina Sierra and all those other things. There's a good possibility that's the way they're going to go. As far as Adam Page and Swerve goes, well, if you know anything about what's going on in the past between these two guys, it's probably going to be the match that they have at All In. There's no way it's not going to happen if that's going to be the case they're going. Because Bryan Danielson versus Swerve, even though it would be a very really great match, it's not the way I think you want to go for this. Bryan Danielson could be used for something else. Literally, you can have Bryan Danielson for something else. So we'll see what happens. But that, my friends, that is the DA Wrestling episode for AEW Dynamite Beach Break. Give us a follow on all our social media platforms. Okay. We always mention them down below. They are A Purcell on Twitter, DA Wrestling, We Are Wrestling on Twitter as well, DA Sports on TikTok, D Lions 1991 on Twitter, and don't forget to share, subscribe down below there on YouTube. While you're at it, you might just take a look at this video down below. It's probably once more on this side or on that side. Can't remember which side it's going to be on. Take a look at the video, enjoy our content. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good night.